seriously, because like when you try that thing, it's all the my hat smell like fried thing because all this time to do this, you wait, but you've had all this time. You wait, and you know what I do. So you come into it, infuriate. Like you know how they got time for the sun. Red Fox, they infuriated me. Broke the week. But it's the same thing as Red Fox. They did things on purpose to infuriate him, so he would have a heart attack. And that's what actually happened. You can watch it on turn off that light. Thank you. Greetings.
Mm.
Daughter's been sitting here for the last well, well, welcome. My name is Adrian Timer. Talk with my it all starts with a simple fact. I am the holder of the this ball game created by Spirit. I am the Galactic Daddy sitting on my Galactic patio in Minnesota to the universe. And that is kind of like one of the, just if I have a topic, is that point, is that we all have the right to a continuous ball. You can even look at it as the spiritual ball. I mean, this is the American thing. There's nothing more American than a ball. And so I guess I'm not emphasizing that this is a place that you don't have to believe in it. You don't have to worship it. It is just a place that is set aside for you alone. I guess if there's any spiritual lesson in it, it's that you have to do your part, your mind well enough, and when it's time to move through to that place, you have enough acuity, memory after death. That's what Dan Williams calls it, memory after death. You can go to a place that would be your very own without any input at all. And I guess physically, like in a physical, maybe even a spiritual kind of thing, is this is the time. I mean, it's almost like getting your own continuous ball field is kind of like getting you your own time. You can make it grow it. your semantics. Like you get this in, you tap. So if you were a planet, how would you let it all to you? Or if you were in a situation with a life sprang from you, how do you interact? Do you interact? Do you just let it move through? Just turn it on and let it work. You had the all power. How how would it spring from you? Would you favor it with any of your weaknesses? Go into your creation. Fault. That's how you would set up your creation with your fault and your creation. You have to be the artist. You have to be set up in praise places all over. So in some ways we watch, we witness, we know the ancient hidden ways. One of the Western wonders of the world is the statue of God needed that. Who? Or the people needed that big reminder of what they did, what they put in. I guess that is part of what my mission is. All right. So commercial, still drinking Sierra Nevada, Wonderland. So pop them if you got them, smoke them if you want them. Still sucking on acid blood. Oh, check this out. I bought this at Walmart many years ago. It takes too much beer in this damn thing. But it's a skull beer or skull more pirate skull. More pirate. It's got the bandana. You see the pirate like that. That's the twisted. That's really a horn. That's the twist of the kind of clever. But take like and it's oh, so who are we? Oh my goodness, what's going on? So what's happening? Oh, Sebastian, thank you for joining me. TJ, my man, what is happening? Overstanding, thank you. No sound still? Oh, my mic is still on. Okay, I'm just been going on, not recording. I was wondering. I just been going and going. I don't know. I don't know if that's any game. Any better? No. Mic is that any better? Any better? AC over? Any better? Is that any better, guys? Hmm. Let me see. I can kind of hear this. Uh, is that any better? Oh, it's maybe not. Might have a technical problem. Put the gain to max and use the effect button. Put the gain to max. Does that help? Oh, better or okay? That worked. That did it. Better. Okay. All right. I'll start with this again. off the D noise? Okay. So does this shit play? Does that shit play? Because I just heard it through the headphones. I don't know what I did. So let me know if that played. It went off. I heard it go off, so it ain't still going on. Where's that crazy noise? Okay, okay. Well, I'm gonna have fun with this. I am going to repeat what I just said because I think it's worthy what I just said. But again, this is Eight Winds is timeless. Um, this is the Chocolate Mountain Show, and it all starts with a gentle sadness. I am the holder of the continuous ball game of the Hero Twins. I am the Galactic Daddio, sitting on my galactic patio from Minnesota to the universe. And and this is what I wanted to start off with. And I'm going to repeat what I just said. I think one thing I don't get out there is the thing about a continuous ball game. Now, at some point, I did call it a spiritual ball field because that is really one of the biggest energies that's given freely that comes out of the Americas is the Hero Twins energy that was given to this part of the country. Now, it is spread, but I'm saying, particularly here in America, there's an energy that we can tap into that it's vast. And it's not only just it's vast, it's also personal. It is also something that you are the creator. But as I talk about, in the 20 count calendar of the Mayans, you have to nurture this thing. You have to visit this thing. So even though it's created for you, you expand it. And this is where meditating, Dan Winters calls it life or memory after death. Memory after death. Because everything that goes on now is to take that away from you. Just to even take that away from you, that there is a place you can go. Now, any religion that you practice and this doesn't hurt that. This hurts none of that. This takes away from none of that. But this is a place of no deceit. It'll be a place for you to step into, and then it's up to you which way you want to go from that. But it'll be where you go first. And it'll be a place that's not going to be eaten upon because there's a lot of religions that you go into the light and they will give you all that you dreamt heaven could be. But you'd sit there one day and something would chunk that shit up. And then what would you do? What would you do? Well, you would hook up with some type of parasite or be food for a parasite. And that would be your eternity. Being shit out some kind of way. No, the energy would be absorbed, but not in the way that would give you continuous eternity. So my point is, see the way that the ball game is shown, or even the ball field is shown to most people is just the participation. It is energy on it, participation or not. Just creating it, there's energy on it. And then once the games are played on it, this is a continuous energy that could never be go away. That's why I ask any old ball player, anywhere you've played ball, and just go back and stand there for a minute. This somewhere where you just made a hoop or hit a baseball. Go back to that place and visit that place and see if you would not tap into some type of energy. But those that have a lot of experiences, when you go back, see what you feel. That's why old players go back. I mean, yes, it gives props to the school, but it's that energy still there. A lot of people tell you the biggest thing they miss about playing any sports is the people, the friends, the team, the team. I mean, but basketball is real intimate. It's only most of the time high school, 11 to 14 people, depending on how it's set up. College, even less. But it all is based on the ball field. And it's a place that you can teach yourself to use as you want to use. because you know it exists, and it's for you to expand it. It can be. It's like I talk about when I talk about being a tier of Brahma, being the Monkey King, being in the tier of Brahma. I could be just big like this, crammed into that tear duct. I could be as small, and this tear duct is large. It's almost a world. Or I could just be comfortable in it, be kind of medium, sitting comfortable in it. You understand? Just being part of the source. So this is the same way. Your ball field is the same way. It is however you can use it to be comfortable for your God of eternity. Because what you do to it from there is up to you. Where you want to take it from there is up to you. That is universal law. And one thing that I'll say, if you want to check out Ever West Paneri's work, one thing West points out is you have a universal right to go to the middle of this universe. They're already telling you in the cans, you can't make it there. I mean, we are like the very, I don't even know if you call this the new part, but we are like on the very edge of this galaxy. The very edge. We're way back. uh, so this is maybe I don't stress this enough. And this is one thing that you don't have to, you don't have to pay anything. All you have to do is just get in touch with it. Um, hey, necessary evil, Lorenzo Ciova, thank you for the advice. Um, them gunshots sound like the beginning of nonsense. Thanks. That's funny. A necessary evil. The Mayans used to believe Mexico was the central of the universe. Homie, that ain't really. There's no way that could be right. I think what you mean is South America, because remember the Mayan was in the Yucatan. They was in mostly what would be considered Eastern, Central and Eastern. No, 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 more Eastern South America. So yeah, not Mexico, but yeah, you're saying down there. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the teaching would teach them, like now they're going to have to admit that the Omen built the pyramid of the sun and moon. They're going to have to admit because they found the stuff down there. But the way you would use terraces, so the way, and that's even a thing that you could put on there. That's something that you could even put there is the terrace, because the terrace is also that is what the purpose of the terrace is for. Is the terrace is really to lift. Like you get on your ball field, there's something that you could put in there. There's the terrace, and the terrace is something that would put you into can put you into to universal situations. Maybe that's the best way to say it. It'll put you into universal situations from the terrace. That is why in the Americas the pyramids are have the terrace. It's not the point. It's not being under the pyramid. It's being on top of it. All the energy is on top, and you terrace it off. You have up and down, middle, and you have all the directions. It's harder to practice that when you're inside of it, because when you're inside of the pyramid, you're thinking that the pyramid on top of you is going to amplify, and you're not really thinking about directional energies because almost all of the energies are really closed in on you. Every direction is closed in. You pyramid yourself to get under it, and so you're not really building your energy. You're building energy that's working amongst in there, but it's holding your energy. Well, let's say it's harder to amplify from that because it is going to be a type of lock by just the peak. That's a type of lock. I'll say that part. Where the terrace would take you to the universe. Um, Lorenzo, looking be the third member of. That's a good one. I like that. I think Nick Taylor had Nick had put one of those songs out that they saw, and I dug those dudes. I dug those dudes. I mean, my cousins would throw me like, who was like best in certain periods, and it's like what you have to look at the beats, and it's a lot that went into to liking music. But oh, I do have one thing else to bring up. Damn, I got up and didn't pick the damn thing up. I have to have this. I'm gonna have to get up. I didn't grab this. I definitely got to grab this. Um, yeah, I found this out just because I go to A&T. I found this out, and so I wasn't even able to get a good copy of it or copy it. Kept trying to share it, and I wasn't able to share it, so I'll just talk about it. So as you know, A&T has always put pro. Okay, here we go. They have always put pro football players in A&T. I mean, three of the dudes I played with got drafted. Yeah. So it's all, but dudes even before me. But as we know, their A&T's latest addition that is so kind of star is Tariq Cohen. And yesterday, Tariq's brother. Now this is how you know, and I didn't even do the numbers, but I think that he was 29. I think they were 29. You guys might have to look that. Maybe he's not even that old. They're probably 20. He played 4 years, so he might be about 25, 26. Didn't get the age. But this is how you know that this story is a ritual. So apparently, Tariq's twin brother, I didn't even know he had a twin brother. And I've known about the cat since he's been playing at A&T. And he's been in the league, what, this be his fourth year, I think, third or fourth year. But anyway, he had a twin brother. The twin brother gets apparently pulled over. He gets away, apparently, and they don't know where he's at. So they look for him and he disappears. The next day, the next morning, people go by there and call in, and they see a body into a transfer station. You know, the energy, the electrical, the small grid. You know, people live near the small grids or something like that. He was near some type of electrical system for a city, county, I'm not sure, but where there was equipment, so a smaller grid area. And they say he got electrocuted. So I missed their age. You guys maybe can look up their age now. But this is what got my attention. I just thought, wow, reading it. But his name, they said his name was Terrell Antar Cohen. Again, the brother's name is Tariq Cohen. I've never heard his middle name or been mentioned by his middle name. But here they give the brother's name, they give the whole name. So do you see? You know, he's not a star. Tarek plays in the NFL. He's not a star, but he plays. This is maybe third, but I want to say fourth season. He was hurt last year. I think last year would have been his third season. So do you see? Um, and apparently he was fleeing from police, but he got away. Is what the story is. That's what they said. They said he had been missing, so he had got away from him. Apparently, he got stopped somewhere, ran out the car, and they didn't catch him. Next morning, body found in this electrical transfer. That's why it's probably a transfer station, um, but electrical power station, and yeah, it's found dead. Now I want to say this was in North Carolina, Webster, maybe Webster, North Carolina. I didn't write down the town, so you guys can look that up. But Tyrell and Tyre Cohen, and you don't think these sports is a price? And what I always say is, for a person that's been in and out of trouble, a heavy drug addict, it ain't hard to set these people up. It's not. If you are already a at risk type of person or been in trouble, it is not hard to throw you into the ritual. So I don't know if anybody heard that. Overstand said I'd rock that banana on some dope socks or shoes. Yeah, it's a company. I don't even think it's in the hat. Let me see. No, I don't even say. It's a brand though, because it's a black one, and the black ones didn't fit right. Plus, I got a bunch of black hats like these. Yeah, put the most players in NFL with 18. South Carolina State with six this year. Oh, okay, they got six free agents. Thank you, Lorenzo. Yeah, they're easy targets. Easy targets. If you're a dope addict or you've been in trouble, you're an easy target to push one way or another. And that was my emphasis on teasing my son about what they did to Red Fox. See, Red Fox was a heavy smoker, chain smoker almost. And if you look at his last days, he was mistreated so bad. There was a scene, and I've said this before, but I'm gonna say this again. He was treated so bad where they forced him into a heart attack. They knew. And all he had to do is he didn't even have to act that day. He had one scene where he walked through, said something clever, and walked through. That was it. But yet they were requiring him to be there, even though it was hours before he had even to do that. So while waiting for these hours to just do this one little half a minute scene, he did an interview with good whatever it was, the evening show, TMZ, maybe the show before, good, what is it called? I can't think of the not TMZ, but the one before TMZ was basically the same thing where they talk about Hollywood people. He was doing one of those shows. He gave an interview, and even though he did not have to be back to set, they are chirping at him. The producers are, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? They're just chirping, biting at him, biting at his soul, biting at him. And they drove him into a heart attack because he gives the interview and you can just see the way they're snipping at him, snipping at him, snipping at him, draining. And you can see in the interview that they're trying to get him into this state, and where he literally gets up, goes back to the set, walks on set, and falls out. And his last words are uh, something to it was either his wife or his ex-wife, the one that got Sanford and Son. So, entertainment tonight. Thank you. That's it. So this is a way that people can snip at you that they know maybe mentally it affect you, in some ways physically too, because they knew that pestering him could physically affect him. So I want to bring that up. Well, again, looking at this sacrifice, this is what sports is. You either do the Walter Payton, you take it, or you do it where the family gets it. And this is one thing they're pretty consistent with. You look at the dates and these names, they're consistent with this, and I'll give it to Zach. Zach's giving that part of the story out. So right on with that part. Oh, hmm. Yeah, Della Reese thought he was joking when he had the heart attack. Well, that was his thing. That's how they get you too, because his thing on Sanford and Son was the heart attack. Oh, I'm having the big one. He always joked about that. That was the like. Remember JJ's thing was dynamite. Well, Fred's was I'm having the big one. I'm coming to join you, honey. I'm having the big one. That was the repetitive punchline that went through, most of the seasons he was on there. And isn't that ironic? He dies like that, not died in sleep, not died like Elvis taking a crap. I don't know. I think that would be, like you die on the toilet stool. I guess it'd be frustrating if you couldn't go and you sitting on that motherfucker and you can't go. But I don't know. You usually pretty relaxed, just sitting there and be like, hey. I think I've told this story before. Somebody came and knocked on my door. It was early in the morning, but my door was, the bedroom facing, a little townhouse, and girls screaming and going crazy and calling me, and I run down there and what's up? We walked over to her place, and her man is just laying on the ground, like he just laid down. He was smiling. He was laying on the ground smiling. And she was like, "Well, what do you think? Is he just high?" I'm like, I start checking him. But he was smiling, and the dude OD'd. He OD'd on heroin. And that was back way, this was like, shit, 82? Might have been the summer maybe 81 even. Yeah. No, probably summer 82. And he just laid down and smiled and OD'd. Nowadays, oh, did you guys hear about the new Narcum? They have some shit they can put in your nose now to bring you back. I think that's what I read. They have a new nasal spray. So if you OD, now they ain't got to hit you with the pen. They can just squirt some shit up your nose in a reverse the effects. It's like a stroke. If you get a person in time with a stroke, there's medicine that can reverse some of the effects. My cousin was one of the first persons to get this stuff, and he had his stroke at 43, 44. Again, a cigarette smoker. Um, but I saw the decline in him, but not like you see another other people. Now I have another cousin, his younger brother, that right now stroke took him out. He can't speak, feed himself, none of that. And I don't know if they didn't get him in time. I don't know. So there are things that can, and it's with heroin. It's so much heroin is out there now, way more than before. And this has been 20 years of it being cheaper and affordable. It's like almost like crystal meth too. Crystal meth is super affordable. Mm. So these are almost acceptable. In some ways, they're acceptable because nothing really comes into this country. This smuggling stuff, we know who the smugglers are. Falling for that smuggler and these other cartels. Yeah, it ain't that. Speaking of sacrifice, I saw a video where Mystical sacrificed his sister. Mystical said the murderer wasn't in the room and his sister got stabbed. Wow. Damn. Wow. So he didn't testify against the dude? Hmm. He didn't tell. Well, damn. That's a double damn. That's a damn. I was listening to the one brother was talking about the young brother that got killed in California. And they were saying that when they broke in, he was in the shower and got to scuffling with him in the shower. And they shot him once. And then after he was down, beating him. And they said that the dude he reported that all they got was one of his watches. Isn't that some crazy shit? They thinking they could take one of his chains, but all they found was a watch. And the watch only got him 2 grand. Now we know that that was a type of sacrifice as well, but it was like, and this is how you know that this was a setup. Do you know how fluid? I mean, they want you to think that this young 15-year-old just by himself could just see some shit on the internet and say, guys, I think we should go bum rush them. It's old word. I think we can go get them. You just think random young men think that, like without a groomer, handler, just a random dude be like, or like, hey, Jim, did you see he just showed his address? I got the address right here. What do you think we can do about this? He's got that chain. Watch his video again. See, we remember that chain in the video? I bet he has that there. Or was he on where they say that he was on? I don't know. I don't know. Did they show him there with it? And that's really worth getting somebody? Vanetta Mayweather? No, this was the smoke guy, the young man. and they said a 15-year-old boy killed him. But they had that boy. I think they've been holding him for a while because he was one of the early people suspects that they picked up. So now the young man that killed the Pop Smoke brother, that they still playing his music, is still on the chart. Still on the chart. Dying makes you famous. Lorenzo said I look like EPMD. Yeah, Greg, thank you. Yeah, Pop Smoke. How you feeling about Lakers Warriors playing? Um, Not surprising. Not surprised. I mean, one of the scenarios I put um yesterday was, is this the year the Lakers get a break? You know, the summer break. Uh, but with that scenario, I see the Lakers moving. But again, is this the summer they give them a summer off? Because again, next year is going to be another quick return. So I don't know. I still think Lakers. I still think Lakers. But supposed to be a relative, be related to the Nevilles. He got acquitted. He's the kicker. Here's the kicker: the stabbing went on a house full of people. Wow. Well, it was like when they got Grandmaster Jay. It was the same way. It was people that saw the killers, and yeah, that's the thing. Like even going back to Malcolm X, there's people that saw who the killers was. The killers didn't have no mask on. They saw who the killers was. There's people in there that saw who, and we know there was at least one police informant in there. They saw these folks. They want to tell you that Malcolm didn't want people checked at the door. Malcolm took them off the door. See, they make mistakes when they talk about things like that. So, first of all, this man that was worried about everything in the world just said, I got to worry about that now. So, no, don't check these motherfuckers at the door. Do you really think he had time to worry about that? That he was micromanaging that much? Because that's what the movie tries to tell you. And the book hints, the book kind of tells you that as well. The book tells you that. But you got to read other sources. That was something that he would have let them do. But see that there's a bunch of passing the buck, because bodyguard means it's one person to that dude that no matter what you stay with that dude. That's kind of how it goes. So two dudes sitting in front of you, you got a gun, and if you stay in your position, they're less likely to act because your job again is to one person. That's kind of how it goes. So, but they try to show you that everybody got food. There's going on, something's going on to the back. We better all rush there because this guy behind us is not that important. It's what's going on back there. You see how they try to tell you this, and you see the whole setup, and it could not be real as well. Another fear program. If you speak, if you speak against the shit, you get killed. That's what the '60s was about. If you speak against it, you get killed. So don't speak against it. But there used to be a freedom there. Them hippies did it right. There was a freedom of being a hippie. I mean, this country. I mean, I know we get to hear about psycho killers and everything. But let me tell you a part of this country. There was a time in this country you could hitchhike across country and you wouldn't find a whole bunch of weirdos. I think probably some of the killer stories like that is to stop that kind of thing. But it was a thing where you could hitchhike basically across the country. I told a story. One of my girlfriends in '77, I'm thinking maybe '76, she would hitchhike from about 6, 7 miles away. She lived near the highway. She'd hitchhike. She'd be there. We'd offer to give her a ride home. She's like, nope, I'm gonna hitchhike home. My father used to pick up hitchhikers. My father always carried a big old gun too, but he used to pick up hitchhikers. And I will tell my funniest hitchhike story. And I've told this before, so if you've heard it, it's a story. But a friend of mine picked up a hitchhiker, and he said like the hitchhiker they agreed on how far he'd take the dude, and he said he was riding, and he just like fired it a couple times. And him and he looked at the guy. The guy looked at him, didn't say nothing. So when he's about to drop the guy off, the guy looked at him, said, "Well, do you mind farting a couple more times before you drop me off?" Uh, that is this old boy. He was a clan. That's this old clan story he told me. Said the guy told him, "Can you fart a couple more times?" Don't know how that would be satisfying, but on the day after eating chili, he could have got bombed out. Mm. But my point is, for a long time, the country was safe enough, where you could hitchhike across the country. And let's a lot of it came the Depression era. People wandered around the country during the Depression. That kind of set a lot of that up too, helping people travel. You seen people walking, a lot of people would pick them up, go far as they could take them. I mean, this was a thing. Here's a story, and I've told this story, but this is a sports lover. I knew this dude, and I met the dude when I was fairly young. Again, I lived in one city. My father lived in the other. We played the other city. It was one of our competing against high schools. And this guy would walk, he would walk about 15 miles. Like if the team played within 15 miles, he would walk to the game. He would leave early. It would take him all day, but he would walk to the games. Now, of course, over time, people would give him rides or see him and give him rides. But this dude would, if nobody gave him a ride, he would walk to the game. If nobody gave him a ride home, he would walk back. And this was all over Michigan. He did this. But generally, if it played within about 15 miles, I don't know if he walked 20 miles, but 15 miles, it was a lot of high schools that he could walk 15 miles. My high school alone, we had seven, eight, maybe 10. And that's not even yeah, 10 maybe or more, 10 or more. And this guy would walk. And it's a sad story. The guy got killed like that, walking on the highway one night. Somebody hit him. But it used to be safe enough in this country. And that's why a lot of the lynching stories don't really make sense in some ways, because again, this was the way people moved around. So maybe if a European person passed you in the South, they might not give you a ride. But if a brother and sister passed you, they would probably pick you up. It wasn't uncommon, is my point. It wasn't uncommon. And of course, by the prison, on the way going to Detroit toward 94, you go by Jackson State Prison, where it used to be this prison that was built in 18 something. It was a dude they had in there to help build the damn prison. And there's an area where you couldn't hitchhike. There used to be signs just around the prison be like, "Don't pick up hitchhikers," because in the past, people got away, and again, hitchhiking being, guys got away from the prison and people would pick them up. And I mean, not plotters, just like seen them out there hitchhiking. So they put signs up that probably still exist. If you see a motherfucker on the road around here, don't pick him up. He probably just escaped. Ah, no, what? I remember because he had a song, "Here I Go" on Jive. Here I go. His sister on one of his beginning records. To make a long story short, I believe Mystical Sacrifice and took his sister out. I would say, yeah, probably even if they was all in the room together, probably took her there, set her up. He probably was the Judas. He took her there, made sure she was in the right place at the right time. And that's a hell of a wow. That would hmm, that's very macabre because to kill someone like that in front of folks, that's a little more. There's a little more sauce to that. Definitely a little more. I'd have to really think about that. Yeah, in front of folk like that with a knife. Mm, there was people watching that. There was people definitely watching that kind of thing, and that added to the ritual. It's interesting. That's really interesting that people, and that's one thing. Executive action kind of points to where the players watching Kennedy supposedly get killed. Dudes just watching the moves and seeing where everybody's at. Again, I think nobody got killed in that. It's a lot of fake shit, but they give you that. There are people that witnessed it, and they, what do we? They always show people going back in history wanting to witness that one event. Not me. I'd be like, man, that's some bullshit. Believing any of that shit is fake. I saw something about Mystical doing that, and now look at his career. Well, the thing is the sacrifices for whatever shine you got when you was getting it. So it doesn't matter if you got to shine last year and you in the dumps this year, you still had it. And the way it works is more than likely you signed everything over. You had already sold your soul for it. So sometimes them little bit and snippets of fame, that's what it'd be. It'd be snippets. And you can see that people regret it because these people sign it when they're young in most cases. And then you got to live the rest of your life under that. They can take you out, take somebody else out, and for you look at like whatever point of fame you had, was it worth it? Not gonna have the big crash again. There you go. Murder happened at his house. Wow. That's what he tells it. Wow. Okay. Mm, that's interesting. That is interesting, and it's a lot to that. But that's the price of fame. The price of fame is not glamour. The price of fame is really hell. It locks you into this. You sell your soul for this, and this goes away in almost a twinkle of an eye. That's why they tell you your life goes. When you pass, your life goes flashes, and it really don't. But the point is of the flashing is this is how fast it all goes. I mean, raise children, and you really see how it's accelerated it goes. Because, like one of my sons, it seemed like he was five forever, and one day he's taller than me, and he had been five up to that point. So yeah, it goes fast, and it's like enjoy the moment because the moment is all we have. But yeah, that's guys, that is some high magic. That's interesting. I have to check that out. I have to evaluate that because that's some. And then to talk about it, but that might be his way of getting it off his chest. But a lot of times too, though, if dude didn't have nothing going on, they push people at him too. I used to date Pharrell Williams' cousin. Pharrell Williams' cousin. Okay, did you hit it? Don't tell us you used to date. Tell us did you hit it, and then we'll go from there. Did you hit it though? Tell me about that, PJ. I don't think she'll ever watch me, so yeah, you got to worry about it. But this is how it goes. But I'll say this too. It's like the people that overstand. But it's the people too that get pulled in sometimes too. They do they do look at. I mean, what does Drake tell you? He could do it for. He said, "Of course, that's pimp talk." See, of course. Or well, that makes the story worth telling then. But the thing would be, how close was she to him? How close was, because that's how they kind of operate. They look at, they'll bring you in, and what does Drake say? He bring people in for a belt, and that's how simple people are. Not buying a piece of gold. Used to be you buy the hangers on some gold. Now you can just get them a stupid ass belt. At least the gold you're gonna get some decent belt. What the fuck are they gonna give you for the belt? You buy a belt for 5 grand, you're gonna get 5 grand back if you get hard times. Then went with that. I said that. That went with what I said before. I know. I was almost in the industry and starting to ask you questions. I wouldn't rub shoulders with none of them cats. Oh, okay. I got you. I didn't see that part. Okay. Okay. I was almost okay. Yeah. Uh, it's not hard to get, like, even me playing football. It wasn't, and just people I was around. It wasn't hard to see where a lot of this was going. Now I'm not gonna lie and say I was close to Narda, but I'll say this: it wasn't just Narda. Um, uh, I've told the story about Leon Spinks because Hank Grooms was my stepdad's best friend. He was in the pro boxing thing. He had a gym downtown. He was bringing dudes in all the time. So I was able to see several aspects of it, and still music. I mean, music was still, a lot of music was still around. And I'm not just saying just Narda's music, but I mean a lot of people were still in and out of doing music. I mean, this was a natural kind of thing. Bands and I mean, um, shit like shit Junior Walker. And I know that a lot of people had to look that shit up, but Junior Walker was always in. I would see him in a couple different places, but there was bands where these cats played all the time, and so music was always around, always around. So I got to watch a little bit of how this thing operates. So not hard to figure it out. And belts made in China. Kanye sounded at one of his concerts. I sold my soul for a crappy deal. It came with toys and a happy meal. He also says mama died for this fame shit. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they say she was trying to get all this done at once. Build the boobs, suck it out the ass, and then sculpt the ass. Yeah, it's too much. I don't know. This is what scared me from that. They told me that people that just get, how they had the thing back in the day, they could just suck your fat out. I heard that that thing would keep you sore for almost a half a year. Now, if anybody's really done, a lot of core work, a lot of stomach. I mean, your stomach, like I've said before, having broken ribs, that shit takes a while. But woohoo! Can you imagine that? 2 to 6 months with just sore in there because you want the fat sucked out. And who said fat was bad? It's bad on some people, but it ain't bad on everybody. That's the thing. Like I always tell the story about the dude who lived to be 112, and something about him and cigars that I think helped him live to be 112. If you don't think any of this stuff will hurt you, it really can't. I guess that's the point. Speaking of boxing, I saw a video stating that Cuss taught Mike the game. Oh yeah, Cuss was the one that um became, like, Mike got out of what do they call it, the juvenile facility, and Cuss took him from there. Yeah, and Cuss, remember Cuss was in Floyd Patterson. Cuss was with Floyd when Floyd won the championship and lost both fights. Well, Floyd lost a bunch of fights. Floyd, what, before Sonny beat him, Floyd was the youngest person to ever win the title, and then Floyd lost to Johannesson. I think that was his name. Then Floyd came back and knocked him out, and then Floyd had to fight Sonny Liston. Uh, uh, um, Jose Torres, that writes one of the best books about Ali leading up to the 1971 fight. But Jose Torres fought for Gus too. He was another one that fought for Gus. But yeah, yeah, that's pretty old. That's nothing new. That's nothing new. And I think in some ways, Gus became a sacrifice for Mike because once Mike, was name was out there enough, and Gus was in bad health, but yeah, Mike was living up there. Uh, shit, they was up in the Catskills, right? I think. But yeah, yeah. He worked with him. He worked with him. A lot of the guy, what is he called? The mixed martial artist, I think is his channel. Um, maybe that's wrong, but his breaking down of Mike, some of the training is outstanding. Some of the training that Mike did that you did see him use. I mean, he used a lot of that. Um, I just saw, and this is not, I just saw that Mike left made a lot of mistakes. He made a lot of mistakes, left himself open all the time, and I could see the type of boxer that would give him problems. And I remember he fought Bone Crusher Smith, and Bone Crusher Smith just held most of the fight, but it seemed like the 11th round, Bone Crusher hit him with a punch, and Mike described it as the punch made his head go into his neck. But I saw there, that's what I saw. I was like, a person that could keep doing that to him would give him those kind of problems. Now, Buster Douglas obviously was a type of fix. If you watch that fight, you can see that a lot of Mike's fights is fixed. You got to look at that. A lot of Mike Tyson's fights is fixed. The dude flying across the ring, that's the easiest one to see. You can see the dude practice the move before Mike hits him. And so other times you see where Mike swing, and a lot of Mike was a lot of forearm to, punch forearm. You don't hit him with a punch, you catch him with the forearm, that kind of thing. But some of the times you have to look at the punches. So, hey Jay, thank you for joining. You saw those surgeries. They really jam that tool in and out vigorously. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And can they still do that stuff? Because yeah, you see them and they're like, they pick your skin and they're just sucking fat away. And it's interesting how, like, I remember my third son was born. His mother, she had, she would get the cut, and I remember just seeing like the row of fat that was in her. It was funny the color of it. And it's the same color like bacon fat. It's a shiny fat is a shiny kind of thing. And I just remember seeing that in her. I was like, wow, that's interesting because where they cut you, because my first son with her was born, she had to have a emergency one because my son just every time he would try to come through the canal, it would lower his heart rate. So it was putting stress on him to try to come down. So they had to they didn't want him to try anymore. It was too hard on the system. So they just had to they cut her open. All this time since I was a kid, then I thought that dude hit hard. I'm not saying he doesn't hit hard, but I'm saying like the Jesse Ferguson punch is a clear punch. He breaks Jesse Ferguson's nose. Google that. Jesse Ferguson. He had Jesse Ferguson in the corner, hit him with the mother cuts, and you see like he breaks his nose and knocks him out. So it's not that he didn't hit hard, but like oh, even the Trevor Burbick fight where it looks like one punch knocks this guy down 3 times. Is that really believable? Like watch his first title with Trevor Burbick. He gets hit with one punch and he falls 3 times from the one punch. So, I mean, how believable is that? It's not very believable. but he could hit hard, no doubt. He could hit hard. And another thing was when dudes could take his punch. But getting back to the Douglas fight, with the Douglas fight, what you see in the third round, Mike saw was a real fight. Watch the third round really close, and you can see they're having an exchange. And I think Mike thought he was supposed to knock him out. And there's an exchange between the two in the third round where you can see Mike that look like, oh, this is a real fight. It's watch the third round, and there's an exchange in it, and I can't remember what point. But if you watch that round, you'll see there's exchange between the two, and you can see where Mike saw that it wasn't going to be easy. And again, it made no sense that you working in the corner. Number one, you don't know that he needs Vaseline. No. Mike was allergic to Vaseline, so Vaseline helps with the cutting and stuff and the swelling. And they didn't have Inswell. They had to blow up a condom and get some ice in it. Why wouldn't you have the bucket of ice? So I mean, if you looked at all of it, It just seemed like a big movie scene. What was the movie with Wayne and was in it? The Great White Hype. It was almost if you looked at that Douglas with his corner, not experienced people, homies in his corner, non-experienced people who Mike requested. Remember, Robin fired all them other folks, which helped him in a way. It did help him, and he did marry Robin Givens, whatever Robin Givens is. That's a whole nother story. It makes you really wonder about Mike. Look at Robin Givens now. Whoo, hey, crazy Sarge, what's happening? Uh, it was one of Tyson's knockouts where he signaled where he was going to land a punch. Yeah, that'd be very common too, where they're talking to each other. But thank you for joining me, Crazy Sarge. Yeah, that's very common. That's very common. That's a wrestling kind of thing. And a lot of times you'll catch them kind of talking, and that's why when you see Ali Frazier in their first fight, he's like, "Quit talking," and they're Ali's talking shit to him as he's bringing it, talking shit. But yeah, a lot of those times they're like telling you what to expect. Same thing we've been catching in football. Hit you high, hit me low. Signaling people. So yeah, very very much that. But he's not the only fight. It's a lot of boxing been like that. I watched live. I watched one fight where the dude just he didn't even fight. He just moved away around the ring like Ali. Like for 3 rounds, that's all he did. And the other guy just kind of chased him around. He got a few, but the dude didn't even punch at all. Ever the people was booing, throwing stuff at him. But it's like there's more than that. You don't just stay out the way. You got to fight. And the guy never fought. And I can't believe maybe the dude trained him. He fought in practice. I don't know. But I always thought that was one of the most peculiar fights. He moved around like Ali, but he never punched. Not and it was a short fight. It was like maybe probably early one of his early fights, like 3 rounds. But 3 rounds he didn't punch. He was good at getting away, but he didn't punch. So there's no way you could win like that. You got to punch. That's why all them people that banned Ali, how much they killed him and gave him brain damage just as much as anything. Because they banned him at 26 and he didn't fight again until he was like, what was that, almost 4 years later? The actual time of the Frazier fight was 2 fights in 4 years. Nowhere near enough to get ready. And then the guys that he might go to jail because of the draft and all that. But still, they had enough time. But taking him years, he had to, he had to make that time up. So when he gets beat when he's what, almost 40 by Larry Holmes, we saw Joe Lewis do the same thing, get knocked out by Rocky Marciano. It was the same kind of thing. It was a repeat of that, because even at that point, it was rumors that Ali had went through all that money he made since he came back. And you got to keep in mind, this cat couldn't read or write. Can you imagine that? From Joe Lewis fighting in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s to Ali who fought into the 80s. Them guys, those people couldn't read and write. Joe Frazier couldn't read and write either. Isn't that's sad? And you know how they give him this high school off? They said they passed him because everybody liked him. He had made a little name for himself. He was Golden Glove champion by the time he graduated. Not that he couldn't read. They didn't pass him because he could read or write. That's why he didn't when he went for the Vietnam draft. He couldn't read or write. So they gave him they kicked it out because he couldn't read or write. And so when he fired his initial management was on the draft board, and they changed the stipulations. And they were saying just because you couldn't read or write doesn't stop you from still being drafted, because they was finding a lot of guys being kicked out, especially brothers, because they couldn't read or write. So it's like, no, 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 we can bring you in. Same way as like a lot of people don't be U.S. citizens but can go into the service. You saw that in Vietnam the same way. And Vietnam had the same thing. You get in trouble, instead of sending you to jail, you go to Vietnam. That was still in play. That was the deal Jimi Hendrix was under. Yeah, I know the difference. Never marry Robin. Never marry Robin Givens. Yeah, that makes you wonder. Out of all the women that was on TV in the '80s, early '90s, right, late '80s, early '90s, that was the one. I think I'm gonna look up all the people. Jane Kennedy, um, Frida Payne, even though she was probably a little older, was still pretty. '80s ladies. I'd have to really think about it. But it was prettier chicks than Robin Givens. Way prettier chicks. Little Wayne Buns B, so cold. Yeah, yeah. And so that just showed you it was a lot of people. I'm gonna have to look that up. Look at all the beauties. Um, what was it? '80s. Show me female movie stars of the late 1980s. Okay, of course. Oh, here we go. Oh, that was a list. Hell no. You know they got all these melanated chicks. Come on now. Jane Fonda was 1,000 years old in the '80s. Okay, the chick for or no, was it Terminator? No, 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 Aliens. The chick from Aliens. Well, you know what, guys? I'm looking at some rough folks, and there's not one melanated person in this, and it was some rough looking people. So Mike. Now when you look at the list, and the first melanated person you see is Whoopi Goldberg. That it's not going to be some pretty people in here. Yeah. Well, I'm going to eat my words. These is a lot of ugly chicks. I'm gonna go through the list: Jane Fonda, Weaver, Catherine Turner, Deborah Winger, Sally Fields, Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine was doing acting in the '50s. How is she on this list? She had to be about 6,000 years old. Carrie, Sissy Spacek, Jessica Lange, and Diane Keaton. The '80s wasn't a good time. With these was gonna be your lead ladies. These are some ugly bitches. I hate to say it. I have not said one chick that was pretty. Meryl Streep, Mia Farrow, Glenn Close. Her and Robin Givens could probably be Cher, Kim Basinger, Molly Ringwald, Beth Midler, The Rose. Beth Midler, really? Maybe this is Barbara Streisand. Oh, come on. Yeah, I'll take that back. It was a lot of ugly chicks. It was a lot of ugly chicks. Damn. Okay, better. Here's one. Phoebe Cates. That's a decent one. Okay. You could have had Phoebe Cates, and she was probably married by then, but you chose Robin Givens. Phoebe Cates was way prettier than Robin Givens, but she was married to Costner. Red Dawn Chong. You could have had Red Dawn Chong, Tommy Chong's daughter. You could have had Aaron Gray. Well, let's see what this one says. The 10 hottest chicks of the '80s. Cindy Crawford. I never liked Cindy Crawford. I remember I used to get Playboys. A dude gave me a couple racks for a Playboy of Cindy Crawford. Yeah, Playboy of Cindy Crawford. Ah, they had the chick that just died as number 10, Twani Katan. Okay, Bo Derek. Yeah, this wasn't a good time. Okay, here we go. They got Janet Jackson, Brooke Shields, and Cindy Crawford. I never thought Cindy Crawford was pretty. Yeah, I take it back. Mike Tyson, I see why you picked her. You didn't have a lot of choices. I'm sorry to hear that, Mike. You did not have a lot of choices in the 80s. I don't know. I think Phoebe Cates would have been worth it. Phoebe Cates was out there. Dana Delaney was out there. You could have had Dana Delaney. I don't think she would have went for your type, Mike, but you never know. All you can do is shoot your shot. My hot ladder for real. There you go. Where we difference never carry. The Olympic Committee was dead wrong for giving Ali that torch. I was in ATL visiting my dad. I was going to burn up along with the city because of ATL Ali. Well, it was like he had to do it. Um, remember Ali died right before 12 the Olympics, and was it 16 or 12? Remember, he died right between the NBA finals and the Olympics. So he had to do it as ritual. He had to do it because that went with him dying before the Olympics. So he really didn't have a choice. But going back around to Ali, I mean, they were so afraid of his post career, they did something to him. Before that Holmes fight, they shot him with something, and he was mostly downhill. And again, he took a lot of punishment. I mean, the way they put it is when he fought Frazier, one thing after the long layoff is they found out he could take a punch. That was the good thing about his career was he found out when he came back he could take a punch, and that was the bad thing. He took too many punches. God, I was watching a fight with him and Ernie Shavers, and I didn't realize Ernie Shavers got so many clear punches on him. Yeah, that guy, um, he was rated at the hardest hitters. I think was Ernie Shavers at knocking the most people out all time. I think it's Ernie Shavers. Back when the Cats fought 100 plus fights. Ain't like now. Cat retired with 80 fights. Back then, the Cats was a couple hundred fights. Look at Archie Moore. Cats fought forever, and you ain't know how old they was. Those cats, they ain't. Some of them didn't even know how old they was. So, oh, well, now is good a time to read the divination. So we should be at 13 platoons, 0 cartoons, 8 tunes, 9 uno, and we should be at 2 kin. Yep, 2 kin. And 2 kin would be ick. And for those of you who would like to see the fractal of ick, excuse me, ick is spirit, breath, wind, cosmic energy, inspiration, vital principle, respiratory system. And this Monday, we are going to be, the energy is going to be flowing from the north. So the north would be the easiest to put your intention to. And one of my favorite, I work with these wind energies. In this card, we see a medicine man devoted to the cult of Iquado, which we know because of the bird like mask he is wearing. The bird's beak is a representation of the wind currents. The plumed serpent in its head tells us he is meditating on the consolation of the opposites, the main meaning of the feathered serpent. In his skirt, we can see a single circle signifying the number one, representing the ultimate oneness. He is sitting on a jaguar skin, which represents power and the capacity for spiritual wisdom. Getting this card is a meaningful invitation to realize that you are always surrounded by sacred presence of the Great Spirit. Iquado is everywhere all the time. Therefore, we always have the choice of being aware of that, of entering into the state of tenomia, the practice of accepting the divinity within oneself. This is what the card is telling you to do. Make room in your life, in your heart, for the Great Spirit. Give yourself the time and space and practice tenomia. Tenomia translates as having God within oneself. It can be understood as a meditative state that leads to the experience of overcoming the false perception of our separation from the good. This is not a trivial topic. The separation from source is at the very best our constant state of fear and anguish living in the ever changing world. That fundamental experience of separateness sustains all our anguishes about separation from the mother or the father, from the long lost partner, and so on. We can preserve a significant, extraordinary difference with our ego surrenders and our awareness is lifting to the pure understanding of perennial state of oneness. And let me say this before I forget it. I was getting gas today, and you know how they show little commercials when you're getting gas. It's like it's not enough for you just to pump gas. You got to watch a commercial. It's like you can't just sit there and pump the gas. No, or let the gas, put it on the thing that makes it flow itself and go around and wash your windows. No, you got to sit there and watch a tube. But what the tube said was interesting. I do want to pass this on. I was going to tell a joke, but I'll leave the joke. But what it said was that just 10 minutes a day of meditating can be beneficial for most people. Now, I know at times I find myself 20 minutes. Music is a great way to, if you're not too distracted by it, but music is a great way to gauge time. I know a lot of times I use the weather elements, I'll use a storm or something, but it's harder to gauge how long. But with music, you can gauge the songs. But it was just saying if you could get in 10 minutes or start with just 10 minutes of meditation, most, I would say all people would benefit from that. Again, if you just want to get rid of the voices in your mind that are not yours, your attachments, that is a great way to start to get rid of those, to rule you by you and not these suggestions that could go on fear, could go on gluttony, sex. I mean, these attachments, they feed on a lot of different things. And if you're feeling or you're hearing that from different kind of angles, you have to say, this could not be me. This is coming from somewhere else. I'm hearing this from somewhere else and not my consciousness. Because if you really, really pay attention to some of this fear-based stuff, it's beyond your consciousness. It's not in your consciousness. It comes from somewhere else. And this is the way you can tell that. You hear that, and then you respond to it by saying that wasn't me. And what I'm saying is compare. Like you'll hear this outside thing and then think to yourself, that wasn't me. And then listen how the thought came compared to the other thought. And then if that thought comes back, if that other thought comes back, like, that really wasn't me. So that's a way to gauge it. But I wanted to say that. I mean, you don't have to even 5 minutes. And I teach this. Blinking is a way of meditating as well. And I've talked about this many times. If you're in front of a group, if you blink, people will blink the way you blink. I mean, they really will. You can get them to a pattern. You can speed people to blink faster because of what you putting out there. You can condition yourself to blink just a little faster, to put the blinking in a little faster, do your information a little faster, and people will be on your blinking pattern. You have that much control. People will be on your breathing pattern. So if you see a person in front of a group of people and most people will do that too. And most people will start breathing in the same way that the speaker breathes. These are little tricks that people. But my point is if you are in front of a group and you're a little nervous, you can take a quick meditation as a blink to get it together. Maybe two blinks. I mean, that's a type of meditation too, because you're disengaging. You see, you're disengaging. Because what will happen is if you're nervous doing something, you're not catching that you're blinking. It comes so naturally, something we don't really have to think about. But it does have purpose with us. It has a rhythm. There's a rhythm to blinking, just like the breathing. Blinking, it all goes the same way. And so if you just need a blink to pull it together, that is a meditation. You can, or just get a timer. And if all you can stand with yourself is 5 minutes, why push anything else? And just try to expand from there. Hmm. Uh, hmm. How often do I allow myself to clear my mind and meditate on my connection with with the Great Spirit? Do I need to open myself to the experience of connection? What role does the content of my thinking have in shaping the way I see my life process and the things I am pursuing? Is it time to change the nature of my thoughts with which I fill my mind most of the time? And this is just, hmm, do I know what my sacred task in life is? Have I reached the point where I must take action to accomplish it? What kind of task can I approach passionately that will bring me equilibrium with the source? Has some kind of task been calling me all my life, which I have not given enough attention to? Do I need to set aside the time and space to meet the source and ask for a sacred mask? Or it says Nisi Quado and ask for a sacred mask if you want to take on this energy. Just some things to consider. Oh, yes, I have. Hmm, okay, that's it. I threw my pen away over there. I don't think I have anything else to write with. So don't leave me anything to write. A lot of these celebrity couples gotta be planned and contracts. Yeah, it is. It is a push for that. You know, Kim has had how many children and she didn't carry none of them. She was like, just take my eggs and let him skeet skeet. And we'll have him like that. Mike Tyson could have had Whitney Houston, Janet Jackson, FloJo, Beverly Johnson, all Ebony beauties that was way better than Robin Givens in the 80s. And even Halle Berry. Yeah, there was way better chicks. There was way singers. Oh, I don't know about Whitney. Whitney was kind of skinny and long neck, but not really a beauty. But talent. They said Eddie Murphy tried to marry her, gave her a big old ring. But see, with Eddie Murphy, they'd have had too much power. So that's why they didn't want that connection. She was steered away from that. She's like, no, take Bobby. And Bobby was hot for a couple years. Bobby was a prime example of easy come, easy go. You know, the fame comes quick. He wasn't getting that fame with the other group, but he was the right place at the right time. Remember, Bobby did Ghostbusters even before Ray Parker, you know, or maybe the same thing, but Bobby really benefited off one of the Ghostbuster movies. So timing, you know, he had a album that was pretty decent. You know, he was the nasty man. He was getting arrested, humping on the stage. Imagine that in the 80s, early 90s, you couldn't hump on the stage. They still wanted to arrest you for humping on the stage. Even though there was a strip club in the given town, if you just got on the stage and humped, you couldn't do that. And I guess that he was told you can't hump on the stage. No humping on the stage. Greensboro didn't have those kind of laws because when I saw Sheen E put a microphone between a dude's pants and acted like she was performing Felicio on him, giving him that neck, not one show, I watched her do it at two shows. So Greensboro said, hey, that's okay. She's not really doing it. She just act like she's doing it. Soft porn is okay. Yeah, it was a lot of better choices than there. And I heard somebody talking about Grace Jones was pretty. Ooh, yeah, I don't know about that. About Grace Jones. Diane Kennedy was pretty, and she might have been 70s, early 80s. But Diane Kennedy was pretty. Remember, she was married to Too Sweet. Y'all, what do y'all know about Too Sweet? I think Too Sweet is gonna have to be in the Pimp Chronicles too. Even though he was a boxer in the movie, Too Sweet still should be in the Pimp Chronicles somewhere. So I'm gonna put that out there. When I play Name That Pimp, we have added Too Sweet. I think Too Sweet needs to be in the Pimp Chronicles. And since this is my game and I made it up, I'm going to put Too Sweet in the Pimp Chronicles. So those of you I bring on and we play Name That Pimp, Too Sweet will be in one of the answers or one of the questions. And the answer is too sweet. So just remember that. And you might have the grand prize. LL got arrested for humping a couch on the stage. And that's what Whitney liked. Yeah, Bobby was a bad boy before Puffy. Bobby was just a dude from the hood and ain't never had any money. Bobby said he paid $1 million for a goddamn helicopter. Said he was high and just bought it on a whim. Them cats wasn't having money like that. Shit. Oh, good girls like bad boys. Well, I've told this story before now. I knew a friend um, because of the way my ex-wife got into the school system. She found young sisters and she would kind of, help them along as she came across them. She had one friend and she did this for her, and the girl got in. And I remember hanging with the girl. She was with us one night and she just made the comment that she liked bad boys too. She said she liked them gangster. So what just happened was I know of this guy. I didn't know him, but she found this guy that had been in prison for 4 or 5 years. I almost killed his brother. I've told that story many times, but this is about this guy. But the problem with this guy is he liked being in prison because the guy liked the kind of sex that's in prison. Now, yes, you looked at him and you thought he was gangsterlicious, but he always had his guys around. So they got together, got married, but he always had his guys around. So they bought a house where it was a prefab house, but he insisted on the basement, rightly so. But it cost him a little bit, almost like borderline. He was a dope boy, she taught. So it was like borderline was going to make them house wealthy, that kind of thing. And she comes home one day, and his so called boy, he is giving it to his boy in every way, in every orifice that's available. So it shocked her, even though she had been told by me and other people that that's a possibility with him. She just laughed and didn't think that could happen until she saw it with her own eyes. And so she was granted a divorce, but the economics didn't turn out as well. And they had this house they had to load. But sometimes you just because you like something, you've got to look at it fully. You can't just jump in blindly. Just because it looks like something, you really got to see what's really behind it. So she was seeing without paying attention. She was seeing, but she wasn't paying attention. You can feel me. I want to write that one down. So I'm going to grab my pen I just threw across my kitchen. So here, I'll give this a couple. Ow! uh, another word, the phrase, the copyright, because I'll be forgetting this shit. See, I'm taking notes of my own work. I'm silly as shit. I am silly as they come, but I did have a beautiful day today. Spent the day with my mother. I said to my son, so I wasn't sure if we were going to go out, what we are going to do, and go into my mother's house. And I pretty much wear new shirts all the time. I mean, it's just me. And so I go in there, and I'm smelling like Savage. I just like wearing the Savage some days. And she's just cooked some damn. I smell fish, and I see that she has made some salmon cakes. So I immediately take my shirt off because again, I'm not going up in the main house in her main. And she has a apartment, I guess. Yeah, 2 bedroom apartment. I'm not going into her living room where all this fish smell is and leaves smelling like fish. And yeah, so, but enjoyed. I eat the kind of fish. It's like crab cakes. I had crab cakes the other day, so I didn't mind. But it's just like I just didn't want to smell like fish. But spent the day with her, and again, my mother is an intellectual, reads constantly, and just talking about trying to get these little family stories correct about people. It's people I bring up. She's like, "Oh, I didn't know him. This must be so and so's relative." We're trying to find the connections of the people because my mother is the last of her generation, pretty much, to get this information, to have this information, to pass this information. So I try to, you know, connect these things. So random. That's she turned a blind eye, James. That scared the shit out of me. I was killing time while I was grabbing my pen. He said scared. He's like, God damn. Like what was it when the little boy gets lost and he does the machine gun sound and shit? One, two, three, or he goes one, three, and the machine gun sound starts coming around. I was wearing my plastic mask. I wear the fake mask. This this brother walked in front of me. He's like, "You scared the shit out of me." He didn't act startled. That's what was so funny. Like he saw me and he didn't act startled, and he looked at me and said, "You scared the shit out of me." Usually, when you scare someone, they get startled. He looked at me and said, "You scared the shit out of me." Oh, and I have children that I wear the face mask and they just can't take their eyes off it. And I just love children. They'll wave at me and like, "Hey, you feeling my energy? Okay." It's but I'm gonna put. There's a way you can put these, and I've got to put Bootsy in. We want Bootsy. I've got to put that music in it. Doom, doom. I was watching. I said this the other night. Last night, Bootsy was playing with Kent Funkadelic and Bernie Worrell, and Bootsy got to playing Maggot Brain. Doom, 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 doom. He was playing the lead because that's the lead part. Doom, 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 doom. But he was hitting that thunder bass. I would say this: if I was able to create my own world, every morning I would wake up with playing the song Slide. I would hit my solar infinity bass and I would play boom, 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 ba boom, 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 ba boom, boom, boom. I mean, I would play that for about 6 minutes and just to let the people know that I'm around. And then in the evening, I would do the same thing. I don't know, that might be too much work, but I would play it every day. I think that would be a good vibration to put out to my people every day to let them know that it's going on and somebody loves you up here. But I think that's the kind of thing we need. We need some just solar bass, and it's out there. You can hear the universe, just like they say you can see the golden ratio go through nature science. You can hear the universe. If you really listen, you can hear nature. It's like I tell the joke of my shoes that squeak. I bought some duct tape. They said to put on my insoles because the insoles make the shoes squeak. But the world is so loud that when I'm walking around people, no one can hear it because there's so much artificial noise. But there's a natural noise that people get a certain age, you start to hear it. And they want to tell you it's a disease and it drives some people crazy. It really does. But as I teach as well, is a way that one of the first ways to heal yourself is to hear how you feel. And I don't care how many times I have to repeat this kind of thing. This is a real thing. You sound a certain way when you feel what you would call yourself. You sound a certain way. And that is how you tune yourself. Dark City talks about tuning. You can tune yourself because every part of you has a certain tone or tune. And that's one way to be in tune with yourself because a simple exercise, you can really listen and concentrate on a part of your body. So, first, you could just say, how do I sound? How does my head sound? How does my ears, my neck, my face, how does this sound? And you move down. How does my neck sound? And you concentrate on your neck. How does my neck sound when I feel good? Then you move it down. How do my shoulders feel when I feel good? How do my lungs feel when I feel good? What do I hear? What does when my heart feels okay? What do I hear? My stomach, my kidneys, my liver. What does this all sound like? Your groin area. What does that sound? I mean, you can get that in tune with your body, and then you can tune your body. And I know that's a time that takes time to do. And it's not like you do it one time. You've got to do this all the time. You have to first find out what you sound like. That's why a soundproof room is really great. If you have an opportunity, and sometimes you can pay to go in a soundproof room, but it's a great opportunity to hear what you sound like. 'Cause a lot of times we have so many distractions around us that it's hard for certain people to tune in like that. That is kind of an advanced kind of thought, but everyone can do it. Everyone, everyone can do it. Oh, somebody else coming here. Oh, James, what's happening? Thank you for joining, James. I heard a slap and a ow. Uh, man, I thought I got attacked. This little console has a lot of shit it could do. I'm not sure it was like doing one thing, and then I was seeing I was gonna have to adjust it a little bit, but yeah, it's cool. I've been messing with it. My daughter, again, we've been gone all day, so my daughter had it earlier, and I was like, I need to practice with this thing, and so something I did kind of helped. So yeah, it does a lot of that kind of stuff, like the radio DJs and shit. But I'm gonna put Bootsy and some Jimi Hendrix on one of these little things and have that come in here too. So it's a way you can do it. Still haven't figured out. Oh yeah, I got to get a recorder too. But also, yeah, it's a way to play the music and everything. There's a way that you can play music and it will. And I know Siova's Better Systems does this too, but it will actually mute the words while you talk. So while you talking, it'll mute the words of the song and just play the music. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. And it'll do the echo and all that. Oh, you're welcome, Jay. Um, but that's a soundproof room is a great thing. That's when the tuning forks and the singing bowls really, you really feel them. You really feel them. We have a couple here, but it's not that expensive either. And you don't. It's not like you're going in there forever. No, you can pay for whatever you can stand. And you can even make a room soundproof. I mean, a lot of you can buy the singing booths. You can get these little booths that you can put a mic in and sing, but you'd also could use it to soundproof because this little things they're like little tents. It's like another thing that's very the same way is when my daughter and them do baton when they go to meets when they have the competitions they have the little changing things because sometimes the girls will change 3 or 4 times but they have these little changing things that you just put it, just get in and get out, change. But the sound, you can get little booths like that too, or you can put the soundproofing in a room as well. Uh, it could, and not really you looking to record or anything. You're just wanting to control the sound. So for some people, that could be worth it. In some rooms, where you could have that kind of your meditation room. Um, that's the thing. Like if you wanted to really invest in nice crystals, you could have a little room just for that. Like here, it's and you can see this in other places. There are salt cave. There's a salt cave here, made of just Himalayan salt crystals, and you can go spend time in that. And I know they have the sounds in that as well, and it's different prices, but it's the same way. I mean, I guess if all my goals was really be to have a Shugite room, because in Russia they have buildings made out of this stuff, but they have complete rooms. But if you could put like even the Shugite panels, if you could just put the panels in a room, that would it wouldn't give you the soundproofing, but far as electromagnetic interference, it would just with the just painting little panels with this Shugite, what you would turn into Shugite paint. I guess you could order enough and make your, if you did full paint, you could do that too. And it would be a pretty clear fog, because the world gives you a lot of fog. It would clear a lot of that out. So that's a possibility. And then you can get like the bigger sugarite blocks ain't really helping you. But if for a health reason, if you got the big bricks of sugarite, that's where they would be helpful on something like that. You can get belts, you can get things to lay on your back of sugarite, and its benefits. But just creating a room would be great and would have some of these big bricks. That's kind of like if I have any dream, that would be my dream is to create a room where I could put salt lamps and then sugarite painting around the walls and then get some of the bricks because the bricks are fairly affordable and put some of those big bricks around the wall because they would still for healing they would be great for that. They would be great for healing. Oh, absolutely, it will. It will. Oh, there we go. Yeah, being in Jay says a soundproof room or spacing would trip you out. Yeah, it's a lot of people don't want to hear quiet like that. A lot of people don't want to hear quiet like that, but it's a good way to tune into yourself. Yeah, good way because there's a sound to sickness too. I mean, going around nowadays with all these people that have taken the plunge, there's a sound to it too. I mean, there's an energy that's put out that I don't know. It's energy put out that I don't know if I can even say anything else. It's energy from that stuff. So I don't know. It's people be religious but don't be spiritual. That'd be the thing. They be religious but they don't be spiritual, and that's the sad part. Because religion ain't gonna really give you eternity just because you was religious. It's not enough. You're not gonna get enough information to retain memory when dying. There's not enough information. Not enough. You're not gonna do enough practice. Hmm. And this is the question is out there. So whoever answers this question, people say because religion can can let go of the Holy Ghost. I agree. Whoever asked that question, wherever that question came from, I agree. The Holy Ghost can be released. And again, I've talked about the fakery with that. But the true people that bring in that energy, they can bring in that energy. But does being able to draw that energy in certain times, does that give you immortality? Because all you're showing is that for a short amount of times you can bring this energy in. Now, those that can use that to get immortality, it's kind of mixed because you're still bringing it in under the guise of Christian or Catholic because you're saying the Father, the Son, and then you're saying the Spirit can come into you. So it's still a compromised energy, if that makes sense. uh, well, thank you. Thank you, PJ. Uh, oh, okay. You're welcome. But that's just a little practice that you should do. It's a little practice that you all should do. But even like everything, like just a check of how you feel. Because I know like a lot of people that's dealing with what's going on today, they'll just start telling themselves, I don't feel right. Well, there's a lot of times in our lives we don't feel right, but you adapt. And so the thing that the biggest thing is not bring in mentally that stuff because a lot of sicknesses come in mental, and everything we hit in now it puts those doubts in you already. And I'm gonna say this is the hard one that people need to get over is when you have a loved one, especially a child, and what is the first thought that comes into your head? You dealing with a child sickness in these times, that fear, That fear is the first thought that comes in your head. You start writing a fucking story of this fear. You come home, they like so and so don't feel good. You start writing a story of this fear program. You start writing it. As soon as you get the news and you start internalizing it, you start writing a story of all the shit that could go bad, all the shit they've been telling you, all the shit you got to do. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't write any story. You hear the news, okay. You got to take somebody to get tested, take them. Don't write any story. Don't react to that. But definitely don't write a story before then. And that's what we all can be guilty of. We start writing this story of fear. What manifest? Manifest ain't just bringing good things to you. You can manifest negative, fucked up shit. That's a thing. That's a real thing. These fear programs are more amplified than your success programs. They will amplify your failures more than your success will be amplified. Anybody been in trouble? And I don't trouble ain't just jail trouble, but any kind of trouble. You see how easily the shit can be amplified? It's like easy when a person is cheating, and then 15 people will tell you the same thing, but yet they supposedly knew all along. You see how that thing could be amplified? And I'm just exaggerating there, but I'm just telling you how that kind of thing passes on. Is my point. Uh, uh, I've seen that's what some pyramids were for, healing by sound. Yeah, yeah, somewhat. Yeah, they are acoustically adjusted to heal that if that makes sense. Yes, yes. Um, that I won't disagree. I won't disagree that it being encased in the pyramid could do that. I won't disagree with that. No, that's very possible, especially on what it was made out of. And yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. That is not that is not disagreeable. I would agree with that. Yep, and that's very possible. And that is a part that you could do with that. Won't disagree with that. The same thing is like when you go into a crystal cave, you find a very similar thing. Um, they would take people in South America, they would take people in the caves and do something very similar. They would notice that, say, if you went into a cave that had a lot of amethyst and quartz in it, they knew that they could heal in those caves. So very similar thing, very similar thing. Yep. And the same thing, like remember, like when you have a quartz cave like that, you can the sound. You can also, like one of my crystals that wanted to be. I don't think it wanted to be broken into, but I don't think it was mad when that happened. Oh, it just got hit with a shot of energy from somewhere. But it would sing. I would literally play my big singing bowl, and this crystal would sing back. It was really interesting. I would play it, and this crystal would play a note. It was like it would hear the end of the singing bowl, and you'd hear this crystal making the note. And I would like always try to like which one is doing this. I would like look like which one is doing this. And so it took me a second to find out it was my Natralite. And my Natralite, I think, wanted to be in two because the way it broke into was just the goofiest shit in the world, but that's another story. But this crystal would sing back. And like I was saying about the skull, the skull, I watched the skull move where there was nothing to make it move. I told this story last night. I had a skull and I separated the other stone because I was about to put it in my pocket. And this skull, they weren't like this where I bump one into the other. No, this skull moved. I grabbed the other skull and this skull moved by itself. So there was something going on between this. But when I grabbed the one piece, that skull moved itself. I kind of slid the other piece away and that skull moved. So there was some kind of connection between those two. But that's energy. But it's also my point of everything in your house should spiritually be working for you. All the colors, no matter how big, no matter how small, everything should be working for you. Like I was looking at in my mom's house today, and the stuff in her house gets real quiet when I come in there because I'm looking at like what is not giving energy, and I'm just thinking like what is not working in here. And but I thanked them because she was feeling a little low, and they worked. That's why I was kind of like looking. I'm like, yeah, okay, you guys freaking did what you're supposed to do, and that was I was like, okay, thanking everything. Like, you guys did what you were supposed to do. That's what you're here for. So they're kind of getting it. A lot of times, you got to train the stuff in your house because it should work for you to make you feel better. It's in your house. It should make you feel better. That's how it really works. That's how the magic. That's how magic should work for you. Is everything around you should do something for you. Shouldn't just be in your crib. And you wash your car. You expect the car to, you do it enough maintenance on it. The car is going to give you a little love for that. Any little thing you do for it will give you love back. Because remember, it's all comes from this earth. There's nothing on that car that doesn't come from this earth. Doesn't matter how they make it. The original resource came from this planet. Oh, did I talk about last night about they said, no, yeah, I think I did, about the mushrooms. Supposedly they're looking at mushrooms on Mars. Are these mushrooms? And how wicked these motherfuckers are when they document the discovery, and how they would put shit in the dirt up there to see. They supposedly been up there with Sojourner. I don't know what she did to get that kind of galactical spell or whatever they used her name for. But you don't think they've been up there trying to plant shit? They'd plant some human DNA in the ground to see if that shit would turn into some shit. Remember the Aliens, the last Aliens movie? It was called something else. It showed, yeah, it was Aliens. I think it was Aliens. Yeah, remember that? They took them to some planet, and these things, they try to tell you a history where some tall white, what they call them, tall white grays. And the tall white grays is the one that started the biology. So when looking at that on film, don't you think they would do that if they went to another planet? They would try to do that. See if they could start their own biology or whatever you want to call it. This is kind of how it works. This is kind of how it works. I don't think I have anything planned for the rest of the day. So what time is it? Okay, I've been going on 2 hours. So tomorrow maybe me and Silva might come on earlier. I have to email him. He said he might have a little time. I've kind of figured this thing out, but um, I'll email him maybe because whatever you, even if you just don't aren't a content creator, if you're working for even your own equipment, I think the brother has some good ideas of just your own equipment. If you just want to make movies for your children, I think he really can show you a way to make this stuff better. So we'll see. We'll see how I feel. But I think, yeah, I think that's all I really had tonight. Uh, that shit's not making any sense. I'm reading my shit and this doesn't make sense. Oh, I think a new term. No, I'm going to save this one. I'm going to save that one for another day. I'm not going to save that. So I didn't say it last night because I gave the love to the mother love on the feminism, and I hoped everybody loved the divine feminine that's around them and that's in them, because that's what the celebration was for. So I hope everybody's satisfied their own way to let whoever fits that role for you that you love them, because we are just natural people of love. Um, that is one of the natural things that we are taught when we're born, when the first person holds us, is that we are people that love each other. And if you don't think we are people that love each other, look at parents that have to take care of handicapped children. Just because they're handicapped doesn't take away the fact that you love them. I had a relative that had the syndrome called waterhead babies. These were military men that were near certain chemicals. And this chemical got in them so bad that it went into their sperm. And so when they had children, there was a condition called waterhead. I mean, literally, the people's head would be mean, really like this, swole up, and no cap. I mean, really, their heads would be this much more head. But my point is, she was one of the sweetest of my relatives that I'll never forget. And I only knew her as a young boy, but she was nothing but love. And so I always loved her back. She always gave me a Christmas gift. She could knit, and she would always say, "Come look at me." Let me look at you. How old are you now? So, even in my young life, I thought, I just love this person. I just love her, and I'll never forget her or her name. But that's who we are as humans. We just love. Now we have so many conflicts, so much taking away that love, stimulation, fear, thinking that the only way you can feel love is if you love somebody back, not just taking the time to love yourself. Because you really can't love other people unless you love yourself. That's kind of how it works. You can't receive. You can't receive without giving. And that's how you got to live your life, love or above. That's the witch. That's one spell the witch said that she's right. I mean, she's saying a spell, but she's right about the spell. That is how you have to keep yourself in that love or above position. So, I'd like to give a salute to everybody that watching me tonight. Thank you, everybody. For coming to watch Old Man, and I try to bring it. I try to be my best, and give my best. And if you get a little bit from it, that's all. If you only get to catch 15 minutes of it, that's good enough for me. That's 15 minutes that you didn't see before. So, um, I always end with Eshan's poem. So I'm not a New York rapper or LA gangbanger. I'm just an old school Detroit crack slinger. This has been the Chocolate Mountain Show. Maybe me and C over tomorrow. We'll see. Till we meet again. Thank you.